Well, welcome to Thought for the Day on this blustery Friday morning. Well, as those of you who watch regularly will know, I've been using a number of these slots in the interval between Ascension Day last Thursday and Pentecost this coming Friday to think about this stage of waiting. Think about the first disciples as they were told to wait. Jesus was taken from them on Ascension Day, and he said, "Wait here till you receive power from on high. Wait in Jerusalem." And so they did. They waited and watched and prayed. And then on that first Pentecost, the Holy Spirit came and they received power. They received power to speak in the languages of people they were with, languages they'd never learnt. They saw God at work in new ways, and God started to bring together a new community. But what sustained them through that period, before that happened, was simply the promise, Jesus' promise. And it made me think a bit about promises. We really live our life on the basis of promises. We may think a promise isn't very much, but actually almost everything we do relies on people keeping their promises. You go to a website and click on something, and then click in a few bits of information and hand over your bank details. You're trusting the promise of somebody you've never met, that they're going to send exactly what you've ordered and take the right amount of money. All sorts of things you're putting your trust in. If those people start to break those promises, everything falls to pieces, doesn't it? But a promise from someone who can be trusted is a wonderful thing. A promise from someone who can be trusted is a wonderful thing. For a start, it means that if we can trust someone, it means we don't have to keep checking up. They said they'll do it, so they will. They said it's the case, so we can trust that it is. It allows us to live life in the present, not worrying, they said that, but is that really true? Promises sustain us through years and years of marriage, don't they? We make that promise. Will you take this woman to be your wife? Will you to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse? You make a promise, and that promise establishes a relationship that hopefully, and in many cases, lasts a lifetime. A promise from someone you can trust allows you to take risks because you know it's going to be there. And the promises of God have sustained his church. They sustained the church through those 10 days of waiting. They could have said, well, he's gone. What's his promise worth? But they trusted the promise. They waited, and the power came. On a larger scale, it's actually the promise of Jesus that sustained the church for the last 2,000 years, because he promised to come back. That's a promise we haven't seen fulfilled yet. But it's sustained the church. It's set the church free to work for good, to take risks, to go out and be the people of God in all sorts of radical and amazing ways. Trusting in the promises of God is a liberating thing. And of course, when we trust a human being, that trust is only worth it. Their promise is only worth anything as long as they live, as long as we're around them. The promise of an organisation is only valuable for as long as that organisation exists. If the company goes bust, its promise is worthless. But the promises of God stretch even further. The promises of God stretch even beyond the grave. And so living a life in his promises, trusting his promises, is a liberating thing. It sustained the church, the early church, through those 10 days from Ascension to Pentecost, and it can sustain us too. May God bless you today.